putting things around there, using his creativity guide him. And now look what you've become, Darth Chud.
Darth Ding.
Darth Ding. Here we are back in the saddle again. There's going to be some weird energy in this podcast because we are doing 2 in 1 week.
Yeah, David's an international man now.
I'm living my jet setter life in the next week and a half. It's going to be weird.
Yeah, he's flying all over the world. He's taking the show on the road. He's going to be doing video game Podtimism, the solo experience.
It's going to be more of like a slam poetry type of vibe.
Yeah, reading Joe video reviews for 3 hours.
I'm going to be up there in like a turtleneck and reading glasses. One spotlight on me.
Yeah.
Sitting on a stool.
So tonight I have for you a review of Croc 2 from Joe Video, and I would like complete silence for this one. It is awfully moving.
I will now read you a passage from the Buck Bumble soundtrack. Buck, at a buck, at a buck, bumble. Beautiful.
Yeah, we're recording 2 in a week, and I can't tell if this is going to be worse or better. We're going to find out, but
I don't think either of us have the requisite pod juices.
No, but I don't know what it looks like when it goes down to empty. I think this is the first time we've seen it, so like I'm excited for the experiment.
Chase, are we about to go past our limits?
Yeah, I think we're going to go plus ultra beyond. We're going to go to the Super Saiyan, anime. You get it.
We're going to do our limit breaker. This is our limit breaker episode.
our ultimate move, yeah.
It's high noon of podcasting.
You can call me Ultimate David.
Power crackling around you and shit.
Just like up the microphone.
Hey, it's Video Game Podtimism. It's the Optimist video game variety show where 2 best friends talk about the wonderful world of gaming twice in a week. You're going to be hearing this just like at the normal time, but this will have been recorded like a week and a half ago or something by this point.
Yes, this will be no different for the listener, but because we care for you all so much and didn't want you to have a single week without VGP in your life, we are here.
My name is Chase.
My name is David.
So whatever fresh hot news about the newest Gex sequel, we haven't gotten there yet, so bear with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're behind the times.
So, which, maybe depending on the outcome of that, may be a good thing. So
very, very true.
2 days ago, we talked about the games we're playing. I have one more that I didn't bring then that we can talk about now. Do you have any video games that you want to bring before we do our other stuff?
I don't, actually.
That's okay. I figured that was the case.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we did this 2 days ago, so I suspect
I was just trying to play the game that we are talking about today.
yeah, absolutely. I hear that. Sweet. Okay, well then, can I tell you about the one that I've been playing?
Yeah, please.
Cool. So I have recently been dipping into Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Ooh.
This had released on Switch, I think a month or 2 ago at this point, and I was interested. I had played these when they were out, like the first go around years and years ago.
On the original Xbox.
Yes, exactly. I don't remember playing the second one. I'm pretty sure I did.
Yeah,
but
I definitely played the first one. I played a lot of the first one.
Yes, I did too. That's the one I had booted that up a little while ago and like played through the first hour or 2. Definitely remember that one much more vividly than this one.
Mm-hmm.
Like I started playing KOTOR 2 and like no memory. I have no memory of any part of this game. So like either I didn't play it or I didn't play it very much or it just didn't leave the impact on me then. But regardless, I've been checking it out. So this game is like very much heralded. Both of these games I think are heralded as like some of the best in RPGs like that games have to offer. And so I think, anytime that there is a game that is that good or regarded as that good and I haven't played it in a while, I'm like, let me at least try this, see what's going on in here, because I genuinely haven't been in this space or played this game since it came out. So I'm like, what about this is still holding up? I did not remember that this was Obsidian that made this.
Oh
yeah, I was surprised about that because the first one was made by BioWare.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think you can see a lot of BioWare in Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Sure.
Like if you've played Mass Effect, then yeah, it's going to be very, very familiar. So yeah, there's like a ton of connective tissue between KOTOR 1 and Mass Effect. I think those two, like especially Mass Effect 1, like you can really see that one company made both of those games. However, in KOTOR 2, it's interesting, like I said, because Obsidian made this, Obsidian being the people who did this game, New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity, and The Outer Worlds, not The Outer Wilds, The Outer Worlds.
Different games.
Yes, and like I think at this point in time is known for their like RPG pedigree. Like I think when Outer Worlds was coming out, everybody's like, "Oh shit! Like it's the New Vegas people. Like this is gonna be cool." And I think like they did a pretty good job on that one. And so I was really interested to see like what was going on in KOTOR 2. I've played probably like 5-ish hours of this game, and I'm just getting off like essentially the first level. You start as this Jedi that has like woken up in this mining facility, and there's like this mysterious maybe Force user who's kind of like hanging out with you, and they're like, "Hey, we got captured here. We got to get the fuck out of here." And you run into like, you know, a Han Solo like dude.
Whoa. That was your reaction to Han Solo type people.
Well, okay, so I will have just cut out the sneeze that I just did, but my reaction to this Han Solo person, Atten Rand, is that of a sneeze. You played KOTOR 1. You know Karth in KOTOR 1.
Yes, I do.
Karth is a good friend, a cool guy. I like Karth a lot. I also like Han Solo, and I also like Garrus Valkyrian. I'd say all of these people sort of fit into the roguish spacefaring guy.
The roguish rogue man.
The roguish rogue man doesn't play by anybody's rules. I think all of them are good. Atten Rand sucks shit.
Oh.
This guy stinks.
Oh no.
I'm playing as a lady, and just constant advances. Just like, oh hey, like looks like you don't have any armor. I'm pretty excited that you showed up in here without any clothes on. Blah blah blah.
No.
Sucks. This guy stinks. So pretty much at any point, I'm trying to test the game to see like, can I let this guy like just go? Can I play this game without him really coming with me?
Yeah.
So far, no luck.
Oh.
But it is interesting to play it that way, because usually I am definitely the like Paragon type of like, I want all of my party members to have their best ending. But fuck Adam. I'm
This
like
guy,
pretty,
you're like, yeah, he could die and be fine.
yeah, this guy can go
He's some
kick
cannon
rocks.
fodder.
I'm not worried about him very much. So that's neither here nor there. I think, well, I guess it is here or there, but it's not the most important thing about this game. So anyway, you go through like the first level of this game, and essentially some shit happens. It's mostly a space to like get used to the combat and get used to how like the mechanics of this game work. But sort of after that, they start layering on like what is happening in this game, which is for me the best part of this. So for anybody who hasn't played, I think Knights of the Old Republic 1 is like very much a Star Wars video game. I think it is attempting to like emulate the thrill of watching Star Wars.
Of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's kind of high thrills, and like you're playing like a, you know, if you choose to be like a pretty good, like easily identifiable good or bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like the actions you choose are like, do you want to save the orphan or do you want to blow up a building? Like, okay.
Why can't I do both? Why can't I save the orphan and then blow up the building?
Yeah, I would like some gray morality here.
Yeah.
But and I think that is their intention. I think they did it really, really well. I think that's why a lot of people point to KOTOR 1 and say like that's the better one. But this game is very interested in like not doing that. So I was like reading through some like not reviews but just people's impressions. I googled like, hey, which one's better, just to see like if there was a consensus on that. There really isn't. I mean I think both, usually people would say that like both are pretty good games, but that like 2 just takes a really different approach to its narrative and the relationship it has to wider Star Wars stuff. A lot of people online said that it's not particularly quote unquote respectful to the Star Wars meta lore.
Number 2 or number 1?
Number 2.
Okay.
And I really like that. I eat that shit up. Like,
you like that it's not respectful to the lore.
I do, yeah. Like I think the first one.
So you're a big Rise of Skywalker fan. No, the other one, The Last Jedi.
Yes. No, I was into like them saying like Rey is like not a fucking, you know, a descendant of somebody cool or something like that. Like I kind of wanted them just to be nobody, right?
Yeah.
And I think this game is really interesting because it definitely does that. Like the setup for the story is that this one takes place 5 years after KOTOR 1, and essentially like most of the Jedi are dead at this point. In the game, it says you're the last one. I sort of doubt that is the case, but it essentially like you're among the last Jedi that exist in the world after the the Jedi Civil Wars is what they call it, which is what happened when Revan and Malak from the first one essentially killed off all of the like light side Force users that were still like adhering to the old ways. And I find that like interesting, but again, because the first one was so focused on like this battle between like this physical battle between good and evil, I think the second one is like very much more concerned with the like ideological fight that somebody has to like do in their own head. Like your mentor, this like old Force user who's following you around, calls that out specifically in the game. She's like, you know, the fight that we're fighting isn't going to be some gigantic battle or something like that. Like that's not the fight you're going to have to do. It's more like the fight that an idea has to do to survive. Like, does the universe still want the idea of the Jedi here? Which is like so interesting. And also everybody in the game up to this point is like kind of been a little bit like standoffish and hesitant about Jedis. Like even your companions at this point are like, have specifically told you like, hey, you're being kind of a dipshit for acting like a Jedi. Like very, very headstrong, very ideologically driven of like, you know, this isn't the smart thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And they're like, I get that, but like, fuck off. I want to survive right now. Like we just need to do what we need to do. And I really like that approach that like the like people, Jedis and like people who are, you know, on the quote unquote light side are not necessarily these like heralds of like good, you know? I think it's kind of fun to exist in that space, especially in like the movies and stuff. But I really like the idea that like, no, like this comes with drawbacks too. Like you kind of do have to be like a little naive and a little bit hard headed to get into this, right?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily saying like the Jedi are bad people too. It's just saying like there's a cost to this. And like, you know, how far are you willing to go there? Essentially in the first one, a lot of the setup for the game was that the Jedi were fighting in the Mandalorian Wars, which is the thing where like a bunch of Mandalorians showed up and just started taking over planets. And the Jedi was called in to help defend the Republic. And Revan and Malak were the like sort of big bads from the first game, had essentially said like, we need to maybe not be light side Jedis anymore. Like we're losing this war, and to win it, we may need to like figure something else out here. Essentially fuck the old ways of doing this. We're going to figure out a new way. And then eventually after being exiled, came back as like, you know, full blown Sith users or, you know, Sith. And so like after they have like wiped out all these Jedi, then again, you being the last person essentially have to decide like, is this worth fighting for? Do I really want to do this? Because there's a lot of dialogue opportunities to say like, not really. I kind of just want to like leave rather than like try and defend this ideology or whatever. Yeah. And I really like that. Like, I like that it is poking at ideas that aren't always in Star Wars movies, games, anything. Yeah. I think a lot of the time it's just like, you know, we're fighting the big bad guy and that's like the story.
And the Jedi are very much idealized and
held
they're
the
these
heroes.
Paragons of
they're the good
virtue
guys.
And morality. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like it's nice to be able to explore this other side where like it's not as easy as that. And I think like that's especially effective because like I don't think being good in real life or in like fantasy life should or is easy. Like being good and being attached to like things that could potentially put you at harm to you know, in hopes of helping other people is not an easy thing to do. It is usually not the easiest dialogue option, right? Yeah. It's much easier to just be like, I'm kind of just concerned for myself and like don't want to stick my nose in this or whatever. And so I like when a game says like you can be good, you can do that, or, you know, quote unquote good. You can be kind of hard headed and say like, you know, fuck the rules. I'm just going to go in here because I know this thing is right or whatever. And I may, you know, I will suffer the consequences for that. But it comes with consequences. I feel like a lot of the times in games that purport to be like, you know, we're going to have you make gray moral decisions with good and bad. Like the good is so clearly the right decision. Yeah. And you often do not suffer as a result.
No, you usually suffer only if you choose the bad thing. That's it.
And so it's like nice in the way that like Undertale is nice with the good run, where like it's hard to do that. It's hard to do a pacifist run in Undertale, and you kind of have to like set your mind to it because even by mistake, sometimes you may kind of fall into a bad decision. It's not as clear cut as like, okay, well, I'm holding this girl in BioShock. Do I want to let her go? Or do I want to suck up the energy and kill her? Like, it's so obvious what the good thing is.
Do you want to kill the small child, or do you want to save it?
Yeah. And so, like, I very much like that they're open to the idea of good being a choice, and that choice sometimes being harder than you want it to be.
Yeah. Like in BioShock, like saving the little sister isn't the good choice. That's just the normal thing to do. That's not being a good guy. Let's not normalize saying that like saving a child from or not killing a child is good.
Yeah.
That is what is expected of you.
And like, I think a lot of the times games will try and dangle like some kind of mechanical reward in front of you for like, if you want to be the bad guy, you could have the cool thing, right? Like you get to do force lightning or whatever. But I don't know that that's really always that compelling compared to like, you know, doing the quote unquote right thing.
Yeah.
I think especially in games like, this isn't a dunk on BioWare, but like in Mass Effect, it's usually pretty straightforward to be the good guy.
Yeah.
And like the evil things are like nearly comically evil, right? Like punching innocent people, like yelling at people. Like
it's like either just be a decent person or be a unhinged nut job are the options.
Yeah. And like, it's so much more often different than that. Like I would be interested in, you know, a game where the bad choice isn't, you know, blowing up a building. It's like just not really raising your voice when you feel like you probably should. Maybe you don't get all the way dark side points, but just like being complicit in some of this shit, right?
Yeah.
And like, I just think it's really interesting. I think KOTOR 2 is very interested in pulling apart like the deeper stuff going on in some of the Star Wars places. And like, because it's set 4,000 years before the Phantom Menace, they can, right? Like they can take big old swings with the lore and shit like that. And it's mostly fine. It feels adjacent to like Rogue One or something like that, where Rogue One is very much like this thing that's like, it's connected to the larger story more than this game. But, you know, I don't really know how this one's going to turn out. Yeah. And like, they aren't really tied to like, you know, Luke has to be in this or whatever, you know, depending on how you interpret the very last scene of Rogue One.
Sure.
You know, but whatever. I think by and large, that movie was not scared to be like, we're going to do some different shit while still existing in this universe. And I think this one is doing a similar move where they're very much trying to explore what it means to exist in this space from people who are not just the Jedi, but are experiencing the world with them in it.
Sure.
So it's cool. I really like this game. I think both are great. I think I generally skew towards the game that is like doing weird shit. And this one is definitely doing that.
Doing something different, doing something interesting. Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool, man.
It's cool.
It makes me want to play it. I never played that one.
It's worth it. It's on Switch. I know that there's been some like issues with people having like technical issues with the game. I think for a little while it wasn't beatable while it was out on Switch.
Oh, that's the one I was hearing about. That's a bummer.
Yeah, I think that's not there anymore. I'm not positive because like I haven't gotten to the end of the game, but like
report back.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I'm able to actually beat it. But yeah, it's fascinating. It's a really interesting look at like Star Wars and everything around it.
Cool.
Should I bring up one more? Or do you want to?
You can do another game.
All right, I got one more, David.
Okay.
I've also been playing this game called Shadowrun Returns.
Oh.
Another Switch game.
Okay. Is this a deck building roguelike?
This is a isometric RPG.
Oh, okay, cool.
Shadowrun Returns. It originally came out July 25th of 2013, so a little while ago.
Oh, kind of old.
This is a reimagining, sort of reboot of the Shadowrun series. Shadowrun being this like kind of older tabletop RPG, like cyberpunky thing. And it's had a number of games come out in this space before. It would be essentially if like a game was just called Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like there's a lot of them and, you know, a varying quality. I knew none of this before checking this game out. I just knew people liked Shadowrun. And so I wanted to see like, is this the game to check it out in? This was developed by Harebrained Schemes, which is a company founded by Jordan Weissman and Mitch Gittleman, I think is how you say it. They've been in the tabletop scene for a while, but they built Crimson Skies, which I thought was pretty neat.
Ooh.
The like tabletop thing. And so I think they were also
Crimson Skies.
Yeah, and I think they were also involved in making the game itself.
Oh, cool.
And they did a Kickstarter. I think it was, you know, either the year before or a couple of years before to build this game, to build Shadowrun Returns. Essentially just saying like, hey, we're going to build another Shadowrun game. And, you know, I think similar to some prolific Kickstarters at the time, like got a shitload of money to make it and put it out. And then eventually it came out on Switch, I think, a month or two ago. So that's the setup for this game.
Cool.
It is, like I said, very much like an isometric RPG. You control a person who like is essentially just going through a campaign, right? Like a tabletop campaign of like, hey, your best friend had a dead man switch that's going to send you a message when he dies, and he just died, and he's asking you as a last wish to go investigate his death, and maybe there's some money at the end of it.
Cool.
That's pretty much it.
Quest started.
Yeah, quest started, and you have to travel to Seattle in the future. To go solve this mystery.
You go find your house?
It's not quite that open world.
Okay.
But it is very fun to, have references to like Redmond as being like a scary place in an RPG, whereas like this is just suburbs, man. That's fine. They eventually do take you up to like Pike Place and stuff like that. So you are getting to some Seattle locales, but that was pretty fun for me to know that I was playing the game in the place that the game is taking place. It's definitely like future-y, it's cyberpunk-y. Everybody's got, augmentations and all sorts of bizarre stuff. I also really like the setup of the world. It's essentially like Shadowrun says that at some point there was some sort of event that happened that like merged the world of magic with our world.
Whoa.
And so like now like dwarves and elves and magic are like real shit in our world.
Well, like with guns and stuff?
With guns and stuff, yeah.
Whoa.
It's very fun. I thought like the setup for that is very cool. And I'm sure that's all the tabletop stuff. So, who knows what was part of the game and what was not. But anyway, regardless, I started playing this game and it is interesting. I'm not like crazy about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that is just that it's like pretty linear, which is bizarre for a game that's like an isometric RPG. Like usually I feel like those games are awfully open with the sort of stuff that you can do. Again, coming hot off the heels, I know this is a brutal comparison, but like playing through Divinity and then playing this, I was like, where's all the choices and stuff?
Where's all the good bits?
Yeah. So like, I think there's fun in it, and I definitely like the world of it a lot more than like, any individual game moment. But I think when I'm coming to RPGs and when I'm coming to like a game that's presenting me with a bunch of different, like, how do you want to play this? How do you want to get through this part? I would like to be able to kind of like go to different places and approach different things rather than like you're going to go to this part of the game now and figure out a way to get through whether or not it's like, just shooting everybody or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I don't know that I have like a ton to say about it other than like I have read that the expansions that they have put out as standalone games that are sequels to this are much better reviewed. And I sort of think I may have just started in the wrong spot.
Oh, you're too deep in already?
A little bit. I mean, I'm cool with dropping this one if that's what it means. But so, yeah, it's interesting. I think it feels like a indie game from another time. Like I feel like the like 20, I don't know, 10 to like maybe 13 to 14, the indie game scene was in such a bizarre space where like you got either games that are purported to be indie that are made by like kind of bigger studios or games that are kind of a breakout hit made by like an actual small indie studio. But a lot of those are like the volume of them is just so low that like
it used to be a pretty small genre.
Yeah, it's not huge. Like you had maybe Spelunky, Binding of Isaac, Meat Boy, that sort of stuff. Braid and like
Fez?
Bastion. Fez. Yeah, Fez is in there. And like those games are like not it, but like that's a lot of the indie games that came out for a second there where like, there was 100 that came out yesterday.
Is that a true fact?
Probably. I'm sure 99 of them were, bizarre nothing games, but like there's a lot of video games coming out. And I think this game feels like one of those where it feels like there is a lot of dialogue and the game is pretty polished, I'd say. But parts of it just seem very bizarre. And like, if you were an indie developer, I don't know that you would have like followed through with this all the way. But because they have this like, $1.4 million Kickstarter, they're like, well, fuck, we got to put something out.
Sure.
And I think, also that's probably why the next one was better because they had a lot of ideas about how to iterate on this. So it'll be like, okay, here's what we're going to do because
here's what we really want to do the first time around.
Yeah, I think so. Like, again, I just think that like the draw of tabletop games, especially things that are in the, dice rolling and decision making, so much of what the allure there is being able to approach a situation in what the fuck ever way you want to. And like that is an option in, you know, a lot of tabletop games. You know, you're up to your DM whether or not they want to allow you to do dumb shit and have that be a thing that is allowed. But like that's part of the draw is I would like to do a kickflip off of the guy that I'm currently fighting and ride him down the mountain. Okay, roll for it, right? Like, see if that's gonna work.
You need a nat 20 in Dex to get that one to land.
Yeah,
athletics or something. You know?
Let's see your skateboarding performance check. So, whereas this one's like it's very straightforward. It's very linear. It's like interesting writing wise. Like there's you know, twists and turns going on, but like not in the way that Divinity does. And like I said, I know that that's kind of an unfair comparison because Divinity is like an achievement in this genre.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good.
But still, it definitely felt like I don't know that I would love to play a ton of this. I'm really interested to check out the next few though, given that how well those are reviewed, and also to go back and play the ones that are on I think Super Nintendo and Genesis, because people have good things to say about those ones as well. But those are the only games I'm playing, David.
Awesome.
I think that's going to bring me to my Podtimistic thing of this week.
Yeah?
David, my Podtimistic thing of this week is a silencer.
Ooh. Whoa. That's sketchy.
I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 2, which is a outstanding video game, and I cannot wait to talk about it at length whenever we get there. It's a sneaking game, and so being quiet and sneaky is a big part of it, because if you're just doing desk pops and letting rounds fly, it's going to alert some guards. You're not going to know what's going on, and they'll come run it. But if you find a silencer for these guns, a lot better of an experience. You can just kind of run by and dudes will just go down. I love specifically that MGS2 does this and like really lets you not get heard. I love it in stealth games where it is obvious what is or is not something that a guard will come see. Like, I feel like sometimes in stealth games, I'm like, can I run? Am I able to run and be heard? Like, will people suddenly realize that I'm back here? Yeah. In MGS2, like, very much not so. Unless you're running on, like, something that makes a lot of noise. Like, usually you can just fucking be, you know, balls to the wall, running as fast as you can.
You're gunning around this place. Just don't get seen.
Yeah, no, exactly.
They can hear you, they can smell you, just don't get seen.
Or, like, don't let them find a body.
Yaddy, 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 yaddy. They just hear from around the corner in an empty room. Nah. That was my Megan the Stallion.
Is that Megan the Stallion?
Can you do your impersonation?
No. No, I cannot.
Fair enough.
Hey, do you have something filling your sense of optimism today, David?
I do.
What is it?
And it's classic PS2 games, baby.
Hell, yes.
Classic PS2 games take me to a space.
I love the PlayStation 2, David.
It's probably my favorite console of all time.
Yeah.
It was my home video game console.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for both you and I.
Yeah. And so I just got the new PlayStation Premium service, whatever it is. It only costs like $27 to upgrade for this year. I was like, well, I think I have to. At that point, that's like nothing. Yeah. Especially with inflation. Am I right? So I did that. I just went through all the PS2 classics and remasters they have on there. I'm like, wow, look at all these games. Just a little trip down memory lane. It was great.
They're good games. Yeah. A lot of them in there.
It's got Jak and Daxter in there.
They do have all of Jak and Daxter. I was impressed. Yeah.
I'll play that. I'm ready for it. So yeah, it was just it was fun. It was cool to see all those games and think of like, oh yeah, the Mark of Kree. I heard that game was good. Maybe I should play it now since I have it for free, or I just already paid for it. More accurately.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was cool. I liked it.
They've got a lot of good stuff on there. It's a deeply bizarre service. I don't understand the marketing around it. The rollout was really weird and quiet. I don't see a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah.
And like, I'll say like the catalog is good. It's not like perfect. There's definitely some omissions. If you were pointing to like, I would like the best games on PlayStation 1 and 2. Like there's some shit in there. You'd be like, well, I wish I could play that, but it's still a pretty cool service. I think there's still a lot of stuff on there that's worth playing for sure.
Yeah. I wish they had more classic games on there. Their classic game selection was a little light for what I know they have access to.
Sure.
Which is some gold back there. So I don't know if there's just like, you know, some of the third parties want to keep onto those IPs because they want to remake it and sell it for more money, which is valid, or if they just want to, they're just going to wait to remake a lot of those. And that's why they're not on there is my nasty boy take on it. But we'll see.
Sure. Yeah. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping for some more games to trickle down the pipe.
Hey, do you want to move on to one of our main things this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Hey, it's Good Games.
Hey, here we are.
It is the segment where we look at the okayest games of yesteryear and gush all the things that we love about them.
Mm-hmm.
Going into a big one this week.
Yes, game-wise.
Game-wise. I am slightly nervous about this, David.
Why is that?
I'm a little nervous. I really liked this game when I was younger.
I remember you would not stop talking about this game. For
constantly.
Like a good 6 months, I would say.
I think that's most of the time I was playing it.
Which was a long time when you were a kid.
Yeah, because plenty of free time. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Dark Cloud 1 for the PlayStation 2. I'll save my thoughts. Let me hit you with some hot stats about this game.
What a carefully thought out next sentence you had there.
Yeah,
a long, thoughtful pause before you continued.
I didn't want to blow it.
For sure. Yeah, you just said you didn't want to blow it, and you're making sure. I appreciate that.
Can I read you some hot stats, David?
Please.
Hot stats.
So Dark Cloud 1 originally came out in North America May 29th of 2001. Mm-hmm. I think it came out in Japan either 6 months or a year earlier. They got it before we did.
So this is pretty early PS2.
It's very early PS2, yeah. It was developed by Level 5, the game developers. Mm-hmm. They have made a lot of games. So far as I can tell, I think this was their first one as Level 5. Yeah, I think this is the first one they did. However, they have also made a ton of actual hits. They made Dragon Quest 8 and 9. I think Dark Cloud is well regarded.
It's like a cult classic.
I don't think this is their biggest game.
Sure.
However, Dragon Quest 8 and 9 I think are huge games.
Yeah, those are legitimate smash hits.
They also made Rogue Galaxy, which is another RPG on PS2, which also was pretty good. I was into Rogue Galaxy. Mm-hmm. A very different game than Dark Cloud 1, but I feel still really well made.
Yeah.
I was into it. They made some of the Professor Layton games.
Oh, wow.
They made the Inazuma 11 games, the couple of the Ni no Kuni games, and a bunch of the Yokai Watch games.
Wow. So they do a lot.
They have put out a lot of video games.
Stealth heavy hitter in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think by and large, I'm pretty confident you can spot the connective tissue between a lot of these games. I think Level 5 has some very vibey stuff that they're putting on their video games.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them revel in the slow moments of a video game. Mm-hmm. A lot of the world building, a lot of the stage setting and environment design is all very just feels like a warm blanket a lot of the time.
Sure.
Which, I love that.
You love your blanket.
I do. I do have a review from Play France, an outlet. Obviously,
Why did you say it that way?
Play France. I don't know. I'm not sure why that was the chosen
it sounded
way
like
to do that one.
Someone saying their name in Mario Party.
Yeah, that's the sound that comes out of your Wiimote whenever you choose that person in Brawl.
Yes.
Play France. I have taken the review of Dark Cloud 1 from Play France, and I have run it through Google Translate a bunch of different times through a bunch of different languages, eventually arriving back in English to just mangle this thing up real good. Mm-hmm. So, why don't we take a look at what Play France had to say?
Let's hear it.
Overall, Black Cloud is a challenging game designed to be built and fail, but once you start playing, I thought I would not see this work. You need to be more demanding with the help that you give to other people. This career helped me realize that perfect eyes are beyond my reach. After 2 months, I understood why Sony reduced the price of games in Japan. 5 out of 10 from Play France. They did not love this game.
Did they get possessed halfway through?
That's my working theory, is that something happened in the middle there that they were trying to bury in this review.
Wow.
David, could you tell me what Dark Cloud 1 is? What is this video game?
So Dark Cloud 1 is a third-person action RPG set in a fantasy world, and you play as a young boy who is going around trying to save the world, of course, from an evil genie and a general. A modern major general.
Looks like a dude out of World War II.
Yes. Yeah. A strange combo of evil folk to get together. Yeah. And but before the genie just comes out of nowhere and just blasts half the world off the map, essentially. Mm-hmm. But before he actually blasts them away permanently, the old spirit man whisks away all the people and the structures into atlas.
Yes, balls.
Into whisk them away into a bunch of
into a pokeball. Yeah,
and you have to go and find them in the dungeons that you crawl through. So the main thrust of the game is you go to an area, you find the dungeon. You crawl through the dungeon and you get these balls and you beat the boss, and then you release the balls on the surface, and you get to then do like a city builder kind of deal where you get to decide where all the houses in town go, where the trees go, where the roads go, where the rivers go.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I did not expect that in this game. They're just like, why not? Just throw it in there. Let's see how people react to it. Which is kind of fun though. It's just fun. A silly, fun thing to be able to do. But yeah, no, it was cool.
Great.
Is that it? Anything else to add?
I think that's mostly it. It's a, let me see. The like dungeons have a certain amount of levels that you have to go through. All of the levels are procedurally generated, which I think is pretty cool.
They are, yeah.
It's pretty neat. Essentially, you just have to go from like one level to the next, and then if you run out of like supplies, then you can go back up to the surface and get more shit. And then go back in.
Get more shit.
The game, I think, like mechanically you don't ever level up as Toan. I don't know how to pronounce
Toan?
it. But,
I named my guy Dingo.
Oh, hell yeah. Dingo's very good.
He seemed like a dingo, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a dingo-looking dingo.
What'd you name him? Did you just go with the regular name?
Yeah, and just stuck with default. Sorry. Boring.
Basic.
Essentially, yeah. So you are able to like upgrade their weapons. You get a bunch of different characters as the game goes on, but you can upgrade their weapons rather than leveling up. And so that's the way that you progress to be able to like start fighting, harder enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And your weapons also have durability, which is a challenging mechanic.
Yes. Never my favorite mechanic.
I usually don't hate durability. I think like in Breath of the Wild, I kind of liked it because like I liked it in Breath of the Wild because it forced you to just use fucking everything.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, I'm just throwing every sword that is halfway broken at people and then just like using the best shit that I can find, which I don't think was that big of a deal. Like I kind of liked that. But in this one, the way that they have chosen to do it is that to repair your sword, in the beginning, you really only have one.
You have a dagger.
Yeah, you have a little dagger. And to repair it, you have to put repair powder on your sword.
Yeah.
Which is a process. You have to like go into a menu and go in there and click on it and drag it over and put it in there. And then you get, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 hits on somebody, and then you got to go do it again.
You don't, it really breaks very quickly.
Yes, no, it is a fast process. Not to mention, you do have to like find the merchant in the game. Like he's in one of these balls that are like strewn around the dungeon, who can sell you a bunch of repair powder.
Oh,
but
save the merchant, save the world.
Yeah, he's kind of deep in there. Like it takes a second to do it, and until then, you just have to keep going back to the mayor, who will give you one repair powder at a time.
He's very stingy.
Yeah, does not want to give you a lot, it's so bizarre because like I feel like once the game gets going, it does feel really good, but those first couple hours are kind of tough, like to get through.
Yeah, it definitely was dragging at some points.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear like what you thought of like the dungeony parts of this game, like just going through and finding like the atlases or whatever they are.
Atlases. Yeah. I thought it was fun enough. It definitely could have used like a lock-on feature. I definitely found myself swinging at a lot of things that weren't there.
There's a lock-on.
There's a lock-on?
There's a lock-on. You can press circle. Just press circle.
That's the lock-on?
Yeah.
I take it back.
I bet it's hard as fuck without a lock-on.
It's hard. I just thought that was center the camera. They never told me that was lock-on.
It's in one of the... I will say this game is like... The tutorials are brutal. Like it's just this weird old man who shows up at the top of one of the levels, and he's like, "Hey, I've got some text boxes to show you. Here's how to fight." Yeah. And like not all of them are particularly...
I might have blasted through that a little bit too quickly then.
I think I mostly just remembered because I was like, wait, I'm pretty sure there's a way to lock onto these bad guys because I played this before. Right? Yeah. So it was familiar in a way where I was like, I bet I know how to do this.
Okay. Forget what I just said. There's a lock-on feature, but I just was not using it. So I was playing on hard mode. Yeah. Because I'm a real gamer. But the enemies are interesting enough. The areas, the dungeon itself was straightforward, not very engaging environment, kind of bare bones.
Yeah.
Cool that it is procedurally generated. I definitely got that vibe from it when I first went in. Yeah, and it's just it's interesting. It's fun. It didn't blow me away or anything. It didn't seem like, oh my gosh, this game is like a classic example of how games were back then. I was just like, okay, this feels like Sony trying to make their own Zelda. Yeah. And getting kind of close.
Sure. Yeah.
Close-ish. Yeah, I thought it was engaging enough. I wouldn't say like, wow, oh my God, but
yeah,
it wasn't bad. It was perfect for this segment.
Yeah.
It did some things nicely. The procedural generation makes it interesting. The combat is fun enough, weighty enough when you actually make contact and use the lock-on. But then some things were frustrating with the durability issue. Made me feel like I didn't want to go and explore the cave because I'm like, well, I've kind of gone far on this level, and if I leave now, then I'm not going to be able to. I'm just going to have to do the whole entire section over again,
right?
Because it only saves it once you beat like the little boss or like get past the door on that floor to get to the next floor,
or else it'll reset the whole floor,
So you kind of have to get through in one go per floor, and then if you lose all the durability, you just got to kind of get out of there.
Yeah,
which was a frustrating game loop. So I need more powder.
And it, like I said, it does get there eventually, but damn, they make you do it for a while without being able to have like one more powder.
Yeah, exactly. I did like how customizable the weapons were. Thought that was cool. I always love it when a weapon upgrades just by using it.
That's really nice.
Love that, and it starts to look cooler.
It's very good.
Always gets me going. So a mixed bag as far as the combat goes. I think that the main draw of the game is more the story and I think the world building that they're trying to do, and not so much the combat. It's not going for like Zelda style combat. It's going for look at this story and look at this world that we've made.
Yeah, I agree, and like the dungeon crawling stuff allows me to just kind of like push on the game. Like I don't feel like I really have to be like on my shit to really do well at the combat. It's a lot of just like, I'm gonna put a couple minutes into this and get through a floor or something like that. So long as you're like mostly prepared, like you have the right stuff, then typically you'll be okay. Yeah, it's definitely like the combat part of this game, like the dungeon crawling is very much like a podcast game to me.
Sure.
Like, put a podcast on or put an audiobook or like do one other thing that will occupy your like actual brain versus like the thinking part of your brain doesn't really need to be on to like fight the dudes here.
Sure.
I really do like the push and pull that the game provides where you have to go into the dungeon to get more, orbs to unlock more stuff in the town. And if you go back into the town, you'll, get cooler shit if you start putting the like houses down in a way that makes sense.
Sure.
I really, really like the part of this game where you have to go and like talk to the people that like live in these houses and be like, hey, how do you want me to make your house? And usually they will give you some kind of like instruction on, I want to see the sunrise in my house. So can you point me towards the sun? And if you do that, usually they'll be like, that was so fucking cool, dude. Thank you for that. And like another treasure chest will be inside their house or something like that. Cool. It's great. I really like that part. And there's like that. And then also they give you a reward whenever you bring back all of the like items that were in their house. So like sometimes in these orbs in the dungeon, it's like, a fence or a storage room or something like that you can go and like slot into these little chip slots. I guess they look like pogs almost for the houses, which thereby like unlocks a physical space that you can go and like wander around in.
Sure.
I think in 2001, I was like really impressed and really stoked to be able to like have so much of a physical effect on the game space. There's this game called Sim Theme Park. It's not Roller Coaster Tycoon. It's not that one. Sim Theme Park was like this other thing.
Yeah. It's
like
The Sims doing a theme park game.
Yes. And like a big draw of that game was being able to ride the roller coasters and the rides that you build and like being able to physically be in them. I think that that's a really cool part of this game where it allows you to go like hang out in the town that you're building. And so I really liked the physicality of being able to build this town in a lot of ways that you want to, and then being able to go on the ground and explore it as Dingo. And I think like in 2022, that is a little less impressive. It's still cool. Like it's a cool little trick that they do, but like the overworld is like overwhelmingly flat and barren.
Very
flat,
like, yes.
It's kind of just like a desert that you will plop a house down into and then you can go into it.
Yeah, like like a lot of times I was looking at this game, I'm like, this feels like it's more of like a PS1 level graphics, but just like up-resed a little bit and just with more like animations going on.
I'd agree with that. Like I think it is very much adhering to like game design ideas that were not yet like fully fleshed out on the PS2.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd agree with you though. Like it's not quite as impressive as I would want it to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it is just like, I liked this then. I can still sort of feel that excitement. But, if this game were to come out today, I think the town building would need a lot of like upgrades for it to feel like really impactful.
Yeah, and not just seem kind of like a side to it. Yeah. Like incorporate it a little bit more into the actual gaming of everything.
Sure. Yeah. And like, I do like like I said, the push and pull of it, of like, I need to go deeper into the dungeon to get more orbs, to unlock more stuff in the city, to thereby be able to go deeper into the dungeon, to have better weapons, to get better items, yada, yada, yada. I like that. It's just like, it's not quite as urgent as it felt at the time. Like when I was younger, I felt like I couldn't do anything but like go back and forth between those two.
Sure.
I think that the thing that has aged the best in this game for me is still the tone. The tone of it still feels really nice. Like, I love how happy-go-lucky all the townspeople are. They're like, hey, Tone, what's going on? I think I was just putting an orb. I want to lift some weights. Like,
old macho you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Wants his barbell outside.
I want to be able to lift weights outside, dude. And so, like, I think that you see that in this game, you see that in Dragon Quest, you see that in Ni no Kuni, even in Rogue Galaxy. Like, they do it really well where I want to go hang out in this place. And especially when there is some kind of ownership over, like, how the village works and how it's, like, laid out. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really cool idea. I see a little bit of that in like Dragon Quest Builders, where you can like really have an influence over like how your town is laid out, which is neat. Like I said, I don't think it's, wildly impressive in 2021, just like the fidelity of it all, but I think it's a really great idea. And like the tone still hits hard. I think that like it's nice for me in that way. Cool. Is that something you are at all interested like in these like JRPG like tone pieces?
Tone pieces. You mean just like things that add to the tone in general?
I guess like what I'm saying is like in JRPG games where like the A plot is not always front and center, where you're like allowed to just like exist in like a cute space for a little while.
I get it. I need more melancholy in my tone.
Sure,
usually.
Yeah.
I need to be more like a Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, some sad boy in there.
So I need some sad boy in there. I don't know. I don't know if just like I can enjoy it. Like I do like a good bustling street, just like anybody else, right? Just like a cool space to go and walk around in. And those are always very memorable and fun moments, but I don't know if it like makes the game for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally.
I enjoy it. I am an enjoyer of them, and I like it when a game does them. But also, you gotta come correct with your gameplay too.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it sounds like Kingdom Hearts is definitely the happy medium for you, where like there's some melancholy, there's some emotions running deep, but like Traverse Town still feels good to be in.
Sure does. Yep.
That's interesting. I don't know that I really like recognize that this kind of game or that sort of style was something that I was interested in. But I think like identifying that in this game, in Mega Man Legends, and like the Dragon Quest games, at least as far as like tone goes, is like, yeah, I like it when a game is like unapologetically very chipper.
You like the chipper stuff.
In like otherwise overwhelmingly bleak situations. Like the world has been kind of destroyed in Dark Cloud.
Halfway destroyed, I think, is what they said.
And so like that's not a great situation to be in, but like the like town building stuff is just so nice. What is there's a space in Breath of the Wild. Do you remember this, where you had to like go build a town in Breath of the Wild?
It's build a town.
Yeah, there's like this Terrytown in Breath of the Wild, where like you have to go build up this like settlement essentially.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah, I mean you may not have just gotten there. It was kind of a weird spot on the map if I remember correctly. And it's really nice. It reminds me a lot of Dark Cloud, where like the act of building this space that is your own and very much tied to how you want to lay it out is impactful. And like the villagers are all like, hell yeah, I love being here. I love like this town that you built for me. Same thing as Dragon Quest Builders. And I really like that. I think that like town building often, or city building even, like oftentimes does not have a lot of like emotional weight, like other than like trying to solve your energy crisis.
I was about to say, don't you talk
skylines.
down the energy crisis.
But like it's a very mechanical problem that you were facing, right? Like it was, how do I get enough energy for my city versus like, how do I make this city the coziest place for people to hang out in? You know, like the emotional weight of it is not quite there. And I think that like, that's a really interesting space to explore with Dark Cloud and Dragon Quest Builders and Terrytown in Breath of the Wild.
I remember Terrytown now. I don't think I finished it.
Yes, you should. It's a good part of the game. Or maybe maybe it's not your thing. Yeah.
I don't know if this is my part of the game, but I understand the appeal. I get it.
For sure.
I get it. Building something up, making something cool.
Yeah, and like, it's not the same experience as building a cool space in Minecraft, I think, where it is totally self-driven. I think I need the game to respond in some way to my like building.
Sure, you need a little bit of feedback.
Feedback of people saying like, this is cool, I love this space, or like even just, you know, this was your mission and you did it. You know?
Yeah.
I will say my playthrough this time, I definitely made No Rune, the town in Dark Cloud 1. I sort of made it this like utilitarian kind of nightmare. Like,
oh no.
The first time I did it, I remember like meticulously placing roads and rivers and trees, and all of the like windmills need to be perfectly aligned, and like, oh, there's not enough space for this place. I need this to like go over here and move it very carefully. No. In this run through, it is, you want to be close to the windmill? Right in front of it. Like, no walkability. You do not need to be able to get to a road.
Oh, you want a windmill? Here's a windmill for you.
Yeah, like, I would like to be close to the market. Great, you are on top of it. That is perfect for me.
You now live in the market.
Yeah, so like the like meta desire to make this look good is no longer there for me.
So you were like an evil genie. You were role playing this game. You were the second evil genie in this world.
Yeah, I was a shitty town planner. Like, I was just like, fuck it, build a highway, get them to the Applebee's as fast as you want to. Go ahead.
Every single person in this town only says that they want to be able to get to Applebee's faster. So here you go.
In their car. Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't nearly the like pretty city that I walked out of. In the first time I played it, it was very much just like I was trying to get the cool rewards from people.
Yeah.
And like, I knew mechanically how to do that.
You were really playing the first time. This time you were just like, give me the stuff.
Yeah, give me all the rewards.
This was, wow. So when you first played this game, you were but a naive young boy, and then you grew up into a ding man. And this is what has become of you.
A ding man.
Poor sweet innocent Chase. Just a ding toddler. Just actually playing the game for fun. Putting things around there, using his creativity to guide him. And now look what you've become. Darth Chud.
Darth Ding.
Darth Ding. That's a Gungan Sith. Darth Ding.
A Gungan Sith is pretty fucked up. Yeah, so like coming back to this game after this much time away, it like definitely doesn't hit as hard as the first time I played it, right? Like that's definitely a thing. I think
doesn't age super well.
No, I wouldn't say so. Like it is repetitive to a point that I don't know that I have an appetite for anymore. I played it up through the end of the first like full dungeon, right? I got out of No Rune into the next like area, which takes a while. It was like 5 hours of playing Dark Cloud.
Yeah, you really have to dig deep into that dungeon to get there.
Yeah, and like as a boy, right? Like as a when was this? As a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I was very willing to just like
dingo.
Yeah, little dingo, like just pouring time into this one. And I think the compelling desire to like just get through the game was there when I was younger, and I definitely don't feel that anymore.
Sure.
Right? Like the desire of like, I gotta see the end, I gotta see the next city and like finish that city or whatever isn't really there. Like I said, I've been playing MGS2, and that is like way more compelling of a game to go into. Like, I gotta see what the game is saying.
Yeah.
I gotta see what the moral of this whole thing is, rather than like, I just got to go dig through a dungeon.
What obscure nuclear treaty are they going to reference in this in the next cutscene?
They just did something. It was like some reference to like detonating a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere or something like that.
Oh,
dude,
and like fucking up the ozone layer of the atmosphere and just frying the whole world.
It was. I don't want to do too many spoilers, but essentially the idea is that if you detonate it up, it produces an EMP that will like knock out the electricity of like a big portion of the globe.
Whoa.
The Sons of Liberty are trying to take New York off the grid.
Oh,
David. The game is so good. I'm so into it.
That is such a cool plot. We're just trying to take New York off the grid. Let's go. Why? We'll tell you, but it's going to take a long time for us to even just explain it right.
Yeah, I'm like, so I have no idea how long that game is going to take you to play because I'm flying through the first like couple hours. I think I'm 3 or 4 hours into it at this point and I've gotten to this spot. But I bet if you're playing it for the first time, be like, what the fuck is going on here?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, it's so good. I feel like games like that and Nier I cannot put them down. When like I realize that the game is saying something, I'm like, oh no, fuck no, I have to.
We gotta see what it's saying.
Yeah, so like those games are like overwhelmingly compelling to play through. Yeah,
I love that. So it's so good. It's so good because it's like when you're a kid, you're like, oh, I want to see how the story ends. But now we're going for what is this game morally trying to tell me here? What is your the point of your thesis here?
Not to mention, I know there's some shit at the end of this game. Yeah. Like it is so much more than like we just want to like fuck up New York. There is so much shit happening in here.
Wait, hold on. We're just talking about Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, that happened fast, didn't it?
Dark Cloud just got hijacked.
Yeah.
One other thing I would like to mention about this game that I enjoyed was the story
of Dark Cloud 1.
Yeah,
it's bananas, man.
I enjoyed that beginning segment. We're talking about mixing witches and humans. We're talking about weird ritualistic dances with giant like black mist urns. We're talking about genies. We're talking about a genie coming out and being like, I'm hungry, let me eat your friend. Straight off the bat.
So cool.
I'm talking about mocap dance scenes. Yes. Which were strangely sexualized too. That was kind of weird. And then just the weird interaction between a military man, a modern World War II era military man, and a genie.
It's so silly.
And how they just blast up into the sky and just like, all right, let me just blast these people away from the sky. Like what is that mission in Modern Warfare?
The AC-41? Is that what it is?
Something like that. It's the gunship level. He's pretty much the gunship up there and just blasts people away with his feet.
Yeah.
He like shoots like magic beams out of his feet.
Yeah, just absolutely ridiculous.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was kind of a long beginning scene too.
It took a long time.
A lot of exposition here.
AC-130.
AC-130.
I agree. I think this is another thing that Level 5 does really well, where like their stories oftentimes play out in a way that feels like either a myth or a bedtime story or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the plot points are almost less important than just like the rhythm of it.
Sure.
Of like, there once was a blah, 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 and then they summoned a blah, 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 which turned the world.
That's how the whole game started. It was like, here's a storybook.
Totally true. Like it very much says like, here's a story that we're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels very much like it's on purpose, right? Like they want to tell a story that has highs and lows and has twists and turns, but at the end of the day is like not feel good, but it feels good to be told the story.
Sure. Yeah.
Like a bedtime story, right? Like
it's an enjoyable, it's a fun yarn.
And like I think that games don't do that very often. I think something like Zelda kind of gets close, where like it feels as if the story they're telling is like mythic in a certain way, but like there's definitely like exposition in a Zelda game, right? Rather than, intentionally saying it like it is a myth or a bedtime story. I think Level 5 is very directly saying, no, dude, you are in Dragon Quest VIII going out and just like you're on an adventure. That's your deal.
Yeah, you're in it. Here you go.
Or in Dark Cloud 1, it's, you're rebuilding a town. You're the hero who's going to come back and rebuild everything.
You're Bob the Builder.
You are Bob the Builder, the hero of old, which I think is great. I think that's
origins.
Bob the Builder Requiem.
Requiem for a builder.
God. Oh man, the fucked up sequel that we deserve. Yeah, it was definitely interesting coming back to this one. I think like nostalgia doesn't carry a ton of weight for me a lot of the times when I'm going back to these games. Like it doesn't make the game better. It only lasts like maybe half an hour. I feel like with a lot of these kinds of games where like, oh, this is fun. I remember that. And then like once you're actually in the game, it sort of dissolves and you're just like, okay, like what is actually happening in this video game? And I think it was an interesting exercise to sort of engage with that and see like what part of this has held up. And I don't think it's the combat. I don't think that that's like particularly good. The polish on this game is not super high. But I think after having played some of the Dragon Quest games recently, it you can see the through line. And I think that was really cool. Video games, dude.
Video games.
Can you believe it?
They're still good.
They're still so good.
And they're only getting better.
Sometimes.
It's better than, what's his face from...
Atten Rand.
So if you're a guy in that game, are you just like broing out with him the whole time? He's like, man, I wish there was a lady here.
I'm curious, because I wonder if he's a total chud.
He's just like, be.
Oh, what if he's not? What if he's like, I'm so glad you showed up in your underwear.
Ooh, same character.
Atten Reed don't give a hoot.
There you go.
That would kind of redeem a little bit, if I'm being honest. Yeah, a little bit.
I'm an equal opportunity shithead.
That doesn't, it rubs me wrong, but it doesn't rub me as wrong.
It rubs you wrong, but it also rubs you a little right.
Yeah.
Wow. That might be a good segue to our next segment.
The outro. Listen, we were going to do a sequel.
It's true.
I don't know if we need to. We've filled like an hour and 15.
We do have a lot of time. We have talked a lot.
I'm feeling comfortable if we just want to do this one.
I'm fine with that. We can keep that one in our back pocket.
We can keep that one in our back pocket because I think the sequel to Bloodborne is pretty good.
You have some ideas.
I think Goodborne. I think making a really bright and chipper sequel to Bloodborne.
I was just going to do Jason Bourne.
Just add an E to the end of it.
No, just add a U. Because there's already an E, isn't there? It's B-O-R-N-E, Bloodborne.
Bloodborne. There is already an E.
It just needs a U.
Bloodborne. It needs a U.
Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Jesus Christ.
It's just the same game, but every once in a while, Jason Bourne just comes out of nowhere and you have to solo him.
We do need to keep this in our back pocket. Anyway, Dark Cloud 1, good. Not as good as it was when I was 10, but still pretty good. I was into this. What's your final verdict, David?
It's fun. It's a grind.
Yeah.
There's some frustrating things about it that are just, game design from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Sort of issues. 20 years, jeez. But it's still worth a look, right? Give it like an hour or so. If you're not into it, it's probably not going to change your mind further along.
That is true. You will know very quickly if you like this game or not.
Yeah.
It's hard. And like, if you can deal with the weapon repair stuff and you're like in it for the town building, stick with it. Because it is really good in that way. But if that's not doing it for you and you hate the dungeon crawling, like this game is probably not it for you.
Yeah. If you are here for action, there are so many other better games you could look at from this era that do action better. But this is a interesting mixture of action and town building, and it's different. It's unique. So check it out.
Check it out.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
If you would like to contact us, go to our website. Podtimism.com.
It's out there.
We got interaction on that website now. You can type into the website to suggest to us games to play. Isn't that fun?
We will play them. Yeah.
When? I don't know, but we will get to them. We are keeping a list and we are checking it thrice. Take that, Santa Claus.
We've known whether we've been naughty or nice.
We sure do. So if you want to get in contact with us, check out any of our social media. Go there. All the links are on that website that Chase so beautifully and lovingly made for the pod. Looks great.
Thanks.
This is also our mandatory scout out of the week.
Mandatory, and we would do it if it wasn't mandatory.
Yes, mandatory makes it sound like it's a burden. It's not. It is required out of respect. It is a respectful. It's with the utmost respect that this is made a mandatory segment
by us. To be clear,
us
Scout
to ourselves.
Something in our writer. Or
Scout
something.
is now taking her pen away from the back of my neck, and we're good. No, it's she makes great art.
That's true.
Go check her out. ko.fi/humblegoat.
Yeah, ko-fi.com/humblegoat.
Yeah, -fi.com.
You can find her stuff there and commission her if they're open.
And commission her.
It's worth every penny and more, to be honest.
Especially with inflation. Yeah, check her out. She's great.
It's our second inflation joke this episode.
It's hard. 9% since last year. Anyways, I'm off my soapbox.
Also, this has been David's
economic soapbox. I am not qualified at all to talk about economics. Anyways, and most of all, thank you, the listener, for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate it. It's great. Yeah. It's really cool that people actually listen to this and care about what we say.
Yeah.
And, if you really want to help us out, review us on your podcatcher of choice.
Yes.
Or, tell a friend, tell a bud. Hey, there's a cool podcast over here. Check them out. See if you like them. We appreciate it.
Take a risk.
Why not? You ain't going to die.
Maybe.
Not because of us.
Maybe. There's some old power hidden in these runes, David.
There's some old power. Chase did describe some pretty hot people in one of his stories he made. You might bust a blood vessel.
Whoa, that's a real callback. I completely forgot that was the spooky story.
You had the hot world. You had the hot world.
Everybody was really hot. That was the first spooky story we told, David.
Yeah, with Waylon the Wizard.
David. Sometimes your recall astounds me.
And there was that frog guy. Wasn't Slippy in it?
Slippy was in it.
Yeah.
That was episode 36, if anybody's interested.
Whoa, that's a long time ago now. That's good ep.
I like that. I like our Halloween spooky eps. I like momentarily writing bad fiction. That's very fun.
Yes.
I've thought about how could we do that more often? I don't know. It takes me a long time to write.
It takes a while. I really have to get into a groove.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is an engine that is rusting in the garage for months and months.
Yeah.
And to expect me just to go out there and just get it humming pretty, not realistic.
I can definitely record a podcast weekly about video games, even twice weekly at this point. But good Lord, writing? Fat chance.
4 times a year, maybe?
Even that seems like a lot.
I know, right?
Yeah. Thank you for listening to this podcast. We appreciate you deeply.
Mm-hmm. Chase.
Yes?
Do you have any video game wisdom for the week?
Yeah, I think so. You can never go home, David.
Why is that?
You can just never go home. The place that you think is home, that you imagine, doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, no.
It's a different place now.
Oh.
And that's okay.
Yeah?
It's a new place.
Oh.
When returning to an old game that you spent a lot of time in, it's going to be different, and you might create a hellish town that you've planned compared to the beautiful place that you once owned. But it's going to be different now, and that's okay. You don't have to rely on the past imagery of these old places that you go to.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to your hometown. It's going to be a little bit different. Things are different. You can go to places that you visited before. They're going to be different, and you can never really truly go back there in the way that you want to.
Yeah.
But you can visit it and check in with who you are, because you're a different person too. Nobody steps into the same river twice, David.
Ooh, whoa!
I'm hitting real wisdom.
Where'd you get that one from? Was that straight from the dome?
I think that's a saying. Nobody steps into the same river twice.
That's a good saying.
Listen, this is for all the real podheads. Before we recorded, I made a mixed drink, a tincture of whiskey
a tincture
of whiskey and a Coke.
He brought us his alchemical vials.
Yeah, I pulled out my Bunsen burners and my beakers and then made something. I think I made too large of one of those, David.
It was a very large mason jar that you filled up.
I put it into the cup that I had. This was the cup that was clean. And I think that may have been a mistake because I'm out here talking about rivers and stepping into them twice.
That was beautiful though.
Yeah, but I probably could have made a joke or something there. Talking about I don't know, old ones or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I let you go. It was good.
Yeah,
it was beautiful.
Yeah. It's also overwhelmingly hot in this room. So
is it hot in the room, or is your heart rate just going up because you drink so much alcohol?
That is a distinct possibility.
All right, now you got to go and fill that same bottle up with water and pound that bad boy.
This has been David's real gaming wisdom. Drink water. Hydrate
before you dihydrate.
It's good.
You like that one? I got a legitimate chuckle out of you.
Yeah, a nice little belly laugh. It really took me off guard. I was not expecting it at all.
Also a friend of hydrate before you gyrate. Always drink water before you hit the dance floor, kids.
Yeah, I feel like this is another David gaming wisdom week. That's wisdom you can take to the bank. Hydrate before you
dihydrate.
Hydrate before. Does anything rhyme with hydrate or gyrate?
Rhymezone.com.
Hydrate before you blind date.
Oh.
That is a good one.
That's a good one.
How about hydrate before you birth rate.
I don't know about that one's a little more confusing.
I don't know what that one totally means.
That's something Joe Video would say.
That is something Show Video would say. Hydrate before you backdate, David.
Backdate? Oh, like date something in the past?
Yes.
Hydrate before you commit light perjury.
Yes. Let's see. Hydrate before you floodgate.
Interesting. Seems a little redundant.
Hey. Thanks for the gaming wisdom, David. You kind of carried me through that one.
You said no one steps in the same river twice. That was beautiful. I've never heard that before.
No one steps in the same dark cloud twice, David.
No one drinks the same mason jar of whiskey coke twice, Chase.
As they shouldn't. Maybe flying a little bit too close to the sun for the second podcast recording this week.